Boy, weren't things yesterday chippy? Musa Diabate, Miles Bridges, Jalen Duran, and Isaiah Stewart were all ejected from the Detroit Charlotte game yesterday. And what got me was when Isaiah Stewart chose to be a linebacker and run into Miles Bridges and fight Miles Bridges at that. And then he went on and said, basically, why would I be on the bench in this situation? The world, I don't cuss, but the F would I be drafted in Detroit for? Now, first of all, as I say this, I don't normally talk about stuff like this, but it just seems like every single time something happens in Detroit, it has to do with Isaiah Stewart. It has to do with Isaiah Stewart. And for the situation like this, looking at it, Jalen Duran and it looked like Musa Diabate were just the ones that mainly was in the situation. And then Miles turned his attention to Duran because Duran was saying something to him, which had nothing to do with Isaiah Stewart at all. And then Isaiah Stewart chose to charge at Miles Bridges. First of all, I'm going to say this. It's okay to have your career known as somebody that is a tough guy. But at the end of the day, why would you mess up your reputation? Or not even mess up your reputation. Why would you want to be villainized? This fight or scuffle does not have to do with anything with you. In a situation like that, it should not have been you. Now you might lose 6-7 games because you got stood off the bench, and then you might get no pay. And see, the thing is this, like I said, Detroit has always had this foundation where they are people that has aggressive styles, from Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, from Rashid, from a lot of guys, from Bill. You know what I'm saying? They have that tradition of being tough. You know what I'm saying? It's always been a tough state or city. You know what I mean? But it's 2026. In this day and age, the game has changed so much to the point where it's not supposed to be like that no more. And I'm not one of those people that's going to judge people based off that, because if you want to live like that, that's on you. But just remember, you got bills to pay. If you have kids, you have kids to feed. It's no time to be wasting on getting off the bench and fighting Miles Bridges just because you think that since you got drafted by Detroit that you have the obligation to put your hands on somebody. It doesn't make no sense. So what I'm clarifying is, if you were drafted by OKC, if you were drafted by Phoenix, if you were drafted by Golden State, you would not do that? But since it's Detroit, you have to. That don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense at all for you to try to waste your time on stuff like that. Like, man, this wasn't even your situation. This was not even your situation. And I understand that you going up for your guy, Jalen Duran, but he's big enough to get Diabate. I'm looking on my phone just to get the names. But man, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, why the Enforcer Act has to be on every single little thing you do? It doesn't have to be that way, Isaiah. It does not. Like I said, Detroit has that rich history. They've been bucking with Michael Jordan. They had that Palace of the Palace. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't have to be like that. It's not in this day and age. It's not the 90s. It's not the 80s. It's not the early 2000s. It's 2026. We have to move as accorded. You know what I'm saying? And I would love for people to get into scuffles like this. Not saying that it's not, not saying that I want violence, But just saying, it's good to have sometimes these scuffles because you want competitiveness, right? But at the end of the day, it's foolish when you're sitting on the bench and you jump out and trying to fight someone else because you feel like you have to. And Nas Reed and another cat from Atlanta had fought yesterday, and no one got off their bench and pushed Nas Reed or pushed the other cat, the African I think he was. No one did that. You know what I'm saying? So why the heck are you obligated to the fact that you feel like since you are in Detroit that you have to doggone get into these fights? It doesn't make any sense at all for you to be doggone wasting your time on that. Stay in the game. You think it's cool because you got drafted by Detroit. Yes, people would love to be playing in Detroit right now. They playing really good basketball. But at the end of the day, don't mess up your reputation. Or don't mess up your doggone pay by getting into some of these fights. It's not worth it. And like I said, I'm not ridiculing Isaiah Stewart. I just think it's crazy for me to be like, yeah, I like listening to that. Even I'm a Lakers fan, and it's not because of LeBron. It's not because of anything. I was a Lakers fan in early Coleman and like later Kobe years, right? But if that's like, let me think. That's like if Marcus Smart chose to come off the bench and get into a fight with Jaylen Brown. You know what I'm saying? I would have said the same thing about Marcus Smart. It's not your fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. I get it. Detroit basketball is really doing good. But things like this has to stop. It has to stop in a sense of knowing that, Isaiah Stewart is fighting, somebody off the bench. And I know he's a hothead. I really do. But man, things has to make sense. Things has to make sense. And I'm not one of those people that's trying to say that, well, focus on basketball. I'm never going to be like that. I would shut myself up before I try to tell someone to do their job. Right? But I just feel like it's smart for you just to doggone just stay on the bench and focus on, trying to make things happen for your team. You know what I'm saying? You could have been a big reason why Detroit had won yesterday versus Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? And Charlotte has been red hot. So with that being said, I just don't understand that logic of thinking, well, hell, since I got drafted to Detroit, if I got drafted to Chicago, or if I got drafted to, I'm trying to think of teams that had gotten to a lot of fights. You know what I'm saying? That like I have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? So it don't make no sense. But y'all let me know in the comments down below how you feel about that scuffle and, if Isaiah Stewart's in the right or if Isaiah Stewart's in the wrong. And you let me know also if you feel like there should be more fights like this where, players should be allowed to come off the bench and try to stop the fights, or if the players should stay on the bench because it's not their like situations to face. So that being said, another thing is, if you want to be a part of the podcast, man, y'all make sure to let us know in the comments down below. We would love for you to be on. We are in a dead period, NFL, NBA, or NFL college football is over, so we have to have some stuff lined up. So with that being said, we would love for you to be on. And again, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Hope that y'all enjoy, and we're out.